violence, at least in recent years? And what about officer retention? Is it going to keep up with the number of officers who continue to leave the police department?
When you look at our proposed hiring plan, you'll see that we are assuming the worst with regard to officer retention. We are assuming a high level of retention, but also retirements. We have a large number of officers that are eligible to retire, that have worked their incredible years of service and now are eligible for that retirement. Part of what we hope will increase retention is the fact that Oakland is investing in more police, that officers know that help is on the way, that their service is valued, and the city is investing in it. Now, I will say that we are going to welcome more than 24 new officers in just a matter of days. An academy is completing within the next 2 weeks, and we already have a new academy that has begun. And so our recruitment efforts are already sped up and actually succeeding. This new class of recruits is a wonderful class of dedicated men and women that truly have hearts for service and are ready to hit the ground running. But what was disturbing us was fewer academies going forward. So to keep up this pace of recruitment, training, and getting officers out there on the streets, filling those beats, making sure that people are responding to your 911 calls. This pace of recruitment, this enhanced addition of new academies, that is going to make a difference. And I am hoping it will also send a message to our working officers now that we want them to stay. We need them to stay. They are part of the future of this department. We need them to mentor these new recruits that we will be bringing on. And we have so much to be proud of in Oakland. The fact that the city of Oakland's police department has been ranked #1 in the entire country as having the lowest officer shooting rate and the most improvement in reducing racial disparities in arrests. The story of ceasefire that got national recognition, of cutting gun violence in half. The fact that we have done that before, so we know we can do that again. We have a great story to tell, and I, for one, believe that good public servants are going to want to be part of that story. In addition, I will be personally requesting exit interviews from any officer going forward who is requesting a transfer to another department. I personally need to know firsthand and in private what the reasons are so that we can get to the bottom of this attrition and fix it.
And Mayor, before we go to you, Hazik, there's a question in the chats. Just to clarify, this proposal would bring the number of budgeted positions to what number exactly?
Do we have the ability to do a screen share of the actual hiring plan? Because it changes with each graduation of an academy. And so we are assuming a new attrition rate of 8 officers per month. And we are assuming a graduation rate of 30 new cadets with each of those 7 academies. So at each point in the hiring plan, the number changes. And if we could maybe share that on the screen, I think that would be helpful. Or Brad, I don't know if you have it in front of you and can summarize it if we can't do a screen share.
And okay, in the meantime, let's go to Hazik Madyoun.
Mayor, do you think that the budget that was adopted in June sent a negative message to the officers of the Oakland Police Department and may be playing a role in the retention and the problem to keep officers in uniform?
I do think that budget sent a negative message. And I appreciate that the council has since tried to reverse that message. Since that budget was adopted, the council did approve 1 more academy. And I am very hopeful and optimistic that on Tuesday, they will adopt this plan. I think everyone recognizes that we have a crisis, not just of police staffing, but confidence by our voters. We made a promise to them with Measure Z that we would maintain a minimum number of police officers, not just on paper, not just in an adopted budget, but actually on the streets working. We have to keep that promise.
And I don't see any further questions. I know that the hiring plan is in the packet, but we can include that with anything we send out here with the recording of this presser.
Hi, it's Shawn from KPIX5. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Mayor, I was wondering if you could speak more to the proposal. I think you just referenced to it about a $50,000 signing bonus for officers. Is that something you would like to see? And what does it say that we would need to have that large of a signing bonus to get people to work for the department?
You know, I welcome fresh ideas. I welcome creative solutions, and a big signing bonus is certainly one of those. Other departments are offering signing bonuses, so that is a recognition of what is happening in the larger hiring marketplace. My concern, however, is that we are attracting officers who come to policing in Oakland for the right reasons, that they are going to be part of our reform story, our progressive values, the improvements that we have made in many measures that are important to our community, such as racial disparities, police profiling of people, reducing our use of force, de-escalation tactics. These are all things that are pretty unique to Oakland, and we cannot compromise our values or the level of quality as we recruit officers. And that is something that we must keep a critical eye to as we recruit officers potentially who have come from another culture and another set of training norms from other departments.
Mayor, there's an important question in the chat. Will the $18 million from the Department of Violence Prevention be retained?
Absolutely. And let me be clear that the $18 million that went to the Department of Violence Prevention did not come from the cuts to the police department. When the City Council took its budget action, it had $30 million of discretionary funds to spend. So not only did that $30 million get spent on things like increasing the Department of Violence Prevention resources, like standing up MACRO, the non-police response alternative to 911, but it got spent on a lot of other things. I would argue that cutting $18 million out of the police department's budget in the budget action last June was not necessary to fund the increases to the Department of Violence Prevention and to MACRO, because the City Council had $30 million of discretionary funds before they touched the proposed budget for the Oakland Police Department. But again, the proposed increase to police staffing, the increases in the training academies, and the unfreezing of 20 positions next year, next fiscal year, will not result in any service cuts of any type in the city of Oakland.
Great, thank you, Mayor. And there is a request, if you could, can you elaborate on plans in Spanish?
Sí. Okay. Let me.
Hi, Mayor. This is Ilya from Univision Channel 14. Just what is your plan to hire more police officers? If you can do that in Spanish, and also what you think about the $50,000 bonus for these officers? There's two questions in español.
Pues, como todos los gente de Oakland, estoy muy triste por el nivel de violencia en nuestras calles. Creamos un plan para restaurar el personal de la policía que mantiene la promesa a nuestros votantes que aprobaran a la medida Z. El plan también cancela a algunas de los recortes policiales, casi 20, y el plan crea totalmente 60 más policía para la gente de Oakland. Tenemos que cumplir con nuestra promesa y necesitamos un enfoque completo y holístico de la seguridad. Y teniendo personal político es parte de eso. How do you say bonuses?
Sería como un bono, como un dinero extra.
Okay. El bono, el dinero extra para oficiales que vengan a Oakland de otras partes de este país puedan ser una idea bien, pero es muy importante que estos oficiales tienen la cualidad y los valores progresivos de Oakland. Esto es muy importante a mí y a la gente. Bueno.
Gracias. ¿Algo más que quiere decir a la gente de Oakland porque se siente un poco insegura por la violencia? Usted habló que una mujer perdió la vida.
Yo sé que familias sienten malo y hay mucho miedo ahora en la comunidad porque es de violencia. Y tú puedes, prométate que estoy trabajando muy duro, muy fuerte, cada hora de mi día en arreglarlo. Cada familia deserven a vivir en paz y con seguridad. Y es importante que tenemos más programas de prevenir la violencia, pero también la policía es en una parte de un plan completo, un plan holístico para la seguridad de la ciudad.
Thank
Bien.
you. And Mayor, I'm just going to combine a couple questions here at the end because we're getting to the end of time. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on how you get to 5.8 million in cost. And if you're confident that we can retain current police officers as well as make our projections on the academies.
I feel confident that we can make our projections on the academies and grow this department by 60 officers because we have made very conservative projections that this rate of attrition will continue. Now, I will do everything within my power to stop the current rate of attrition. I want the officers that have been trained by Oakland, that have started their careers in Oakland, to stay in Oakland and not take their talents elsewhere. And so I will work hard every day to make sure that that happens. I believe the council adopting this new hiring plan is part of retaining these officers. The fact that they know that they will not be subjected to mandatory overtime, canceling their vacations, making them work every holiday, making them miss their families' milestones because the staffing is so low and we must have every hand on deck. Staffing is an issue for the department. And it is so important that we, as the city's leaders, continue to send our support, our gratitude to these incredible public servants that sacrifice so much, that work under such threat of violence themselves every day, and that respond when they are called to whatever situation awaits them. That is an incredible service to this city, and we have to do more to express the appreciation and support for those who have raised their hands and volunteered to enter this career. Justin, you want us to explain, Brad, do you want to go into some detail about the different salary savings? We looked throughout the the different departments to see where there were unanticipated vacancies or where new positions were hired later than anticipated in the adopted budget. I mean, this is good news. This is actual savings that have already been realized. These are not projections. This is real cost savings that we have identified in our current financial, in our current finances. But Brad, do you want to talk a little bit more about the breakdown of the funding?
The funding is derived from a number of sources. The one large source are savings from prior academies. So some of the prior academies, as budgeted, have been smaller than prior than they were budgeted for. So we are carrying forward that savings to fund these new additional academies. As the mayor mentioned earlier, we are using salary savings across the city as we have realized them. This will not result in reductions of any other department's budget. It simply is savings that we are realizing at the time. And we're also realizing some reductions in costs for equipment in the general purpose fund that will be also applied. I would say on the expenditure side of that, about 5.5 of the $5.8 million in year one are the costs of running the academies themselves. Those are largely the costs of the police officer trainees who are participating in academies, including the cost, but also included in that are the costs of training, equipment, and whatnot for the academies themselves. And there's $300,000 included for enhanced advertising and marketing to ensure that each of those academy classes is full up to 30 that we are proposing. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Brad. I see Hazik has his real hand raised.
That's right. Mayor, when will the city council make a decision on these budgets that are these proposals between you and Sheng Tao?
Again, I believe that our proposals are complementary. I'm hoping that the council passes them both. And that will be taken up this Tuesday at 10:30. The proposal was allowed to go through by Councilmember Tao's approval as the chair of rules. It was placed properly on the agenda and published today so that the public is noticed of this approval, but the legislation that would actually make these changes immediately will be before the council for a vote at 10:30 this Tuesday. So these changes could be put into motion as early as Tuesday.
And is the primary difference between the two is the money being offered as an incentive to join OPD?
As I understand Councilmember Tao's proposal, instead of doing a 7th regular academy of new hires, she is proposing that we do a reduced academy, a shorter academy that is for laterals. That means people that already have a police certification, although if their certification is from outside of California, they will require more training. And that the difference in that cost for a shorter and less strenuous academy could be used to pay for these signing bonuses. And I like the idea of an extra signing bonus for Oakland residents. We hear over and over from our residents that they want Oaklanders policing their streets. They want people from this community to wear the badge. And so I think that is actually an excellent proposal. I am worried because our track record with trying to recruit laterals has not typically yielded the types of numbers that new recruit academies have. And in particular, we are always concerned that officers share our values, embrace the reforms that we have already achieved, and that we are committed to continuing to achieve in our police department.
Okay, that brings us just to about time. I am going to share a link to this recording as well as a link to the packet that the mayor referenced that includes the hiring plan. I know I got some questions to share that, and we'll send that out to our media list in just a bit. So I want to thank everyone for attending.
Thank you.
Recording.